It is yet another critical moment between the UK and Europe. Here's Nick Schifrin.
Brexit, Biden, Iran, climate, the future of U.S.-European relations. It's all on the agenda in Brussels and here in Washington. And one of the men at the center of those negotiations will be Philippe Etienne, the ambassador of France to the United States. Ambassador, welcome to the NewsHour. Let's talk about Brexit for a second. There are three major issues preventing a deal: fishing rights, legal oversight, and the so-called fair play the UK needs to meet. Has France taken a maximalist position preventing a deal?
Well, thanks, Nick, for having me. Indeed, as far as this negotiation, post-Brexit negotiation is concerned, we are in a race against the clock. France has not a maximalist position. We are all united among the 27 member states. We have given a mandate to our negotiator. We have one negotiator for the whole of the EU, and as you said, we have three issues which have still to be settled. Those are both technical and politically quite sensitive. The most important one in terms of economic effect is what we can call the level playing field. So that the competition is fair in access to markets. But also we have the governance, what can we do, what could we do, what should we do if we disagree, and the fisheries.
Will improved relations with a Biden administration mean that Europe goes back on promises and discussion on increasing European self-reliance, on increasing European defense spending?
We have to increase our defense spending. It was a request by all recent American administrations, Trump administration, Obama administration. We need to spend more for our defense, and the U.S. needs European allies which are stronger, which are able to take their share in the burden. So we are doing that. We are increasing nationally our defense budgets, France in particular, but not only France. And we are also developing new defense capacities, defense instruments at the level of the European Union.
One of the major policies that the U.S. and Europe will work together under a Biden administration is the Iran nuclear deal, of course. Is it sufficient if the Iranians return to compliance in the Iran nuclear deal and the U.S. joins, or do you want the Biden administration to try and gain concessions before lifting sanctions?
You know, our position has always been, and our president has made it clear already 3 years ago, that we have to keep the JCPOA. It's a constant position by France, the United Kingdom, and Germany, the so-called E3, because we need the JCPOA for fighting against proliferation of nuclear weapons. On the other hand, we recognized, and we have always recognized, that there are other issues in the regional security issues, ballistic issues, which have to be treated, to be looked at, and we think that what is now being discussed, both U.S. and Iran getting back into compliance with the JCPOA is really a very important step.
But do you fear at all that if the U.S. returns to compliance and Iran returns to compliance, the U.S. will lose leverage created by the Trump administration's sanctions of over 1,500 people and institutions that have helped push the Iranian economy really to the brink?
Well, Nick, what we are looking at right now is that Iran also is no more in compliance with the JCPOA, and the situation is more and more risky in terms of proliferation.
It is almost the 5th anniversary of the Paris Climate Accords. Joe Biden has said the U.S. will re-enter those accords. What difference does it make if Joe Biden follows through on his promise on January 20th?
Well, it makes a big difference because we need here too, like in other domains, an American leadership, because it's a global challenge and we need the U.S. to address this global challenge. The comeback of the United States, the appointment of somebody like John Kerry, who has been one of the most active negotiators of the Paris Climate Agreement. All of this is positive for the work, which is very important, which we have to do in the future.
global emissions are expected to drop this year, but as you know, that's expected to be temporary. A new UN report says wealthier countries need to triple their pledges in order to limit the Earth's warming. Isn't that the reality of the threat that we all face, even more than the US or the Europeans have admitted so far?
We have always been, I think, honest. We have recognized that we must increase our efforts. And by the way, the Paris Agreement is also about each partner, each country. All countries united in this agreement have said they will step by step review their national commitments. And we need to increase those national commitments. The European nations have increased their financial contribution to the Green Climate Fund. We have one direction, carbon neutrality in 2050, an intermediary milestone. And one of the milestones which the European leaders will be discussing today or tomorrow in Brussels is about 2030, increase the level of ambition of the European Union. So it is not only about words, it's about really actions.
Philippe Etienne, France's ambassador to the United States, thank you very much.
I thank you, Nick. Thank you very much for having me.